Jaylen Brown's blunt statement after shocking loss to Grizzlies. It was a night that left the TD Garden crowd stunned. Their cheers silenced as the Boston Celtics faced an uncharacteristic unraveling. The defending champions, known for their composure and precision, found themselves in disarray against the surging Memphis Grizzlies. The final score, 127-121, wasn't just a loss, it was a wake-up call. But what went wrong? And why did Jaylen Brown, one of their brightest stars, sound almost haunted after the game? The Memphis Grizzlies entered the clash with confidence, riding a wave of 7 wins in their last 8 games. But beating the reigning champions on their home turf? That's a feat few expected. Led by Ja Morant, who danced through the Celtics defense with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists, the Grizzlies delivered a near-perfect performance. Meanwhile, Boston seemed off balance, their identity as championship favorites crumbling under the relentless Memphis attack. The Celtics' struggles were glaring. From deep, they connected on just 30% of their shots. "We were too casual." Brown's brutal honesty. Facing the press after the game, Jaylen Brown didn't hold back. His voice carried the weight of disappointment, the frustration palpable. "We wasn't strong enough with the basketball," Brown admitted. Yet, for all his accountability, Brown wasn't the primary culprit. He was the only Celtic starter to shoot over 50%, going 10 for 14 from the field and 2 for 3 from deep. Still, the team's over-reliance on the three-point line proved fatal. Boston hoisted 60 attempts from beyond the arc, converting just 18. In a game where rebounds and turnovers were evenly matched, this inefficiency sealed their fate. A rivalry rekindled, or something more. The Grizzlies didn't just win, they sent a message. Their resilience and discipline exposed cracks in Boston's seemingly impenetrable armor. For the Celtics, this loss wasn't just about missed shots or bad decisions. It was a reminder that every contender is watching, waiting for the champions to falter. But here's the twist. Brown's candor after the game raises a question Celtics fans can't ignore. Is this a sign of deeper issues within the team? Or was it a momentary lapse, a stumble on their march to another title? As the Celtics regroup, they must ask themselves one critical question. Will this loss fuel their fire, or will it ignite doubts that could burn their title hopes to ashes? Celtics' depth in danger after Hauser's sudden injury. The TD Garden crowd fell silent. What began as an intense matchup between the Celtics and the Memphis Grizzlies quickly turned into a scene of worry and uncertainty. Just 8 minutes into the second quarter, a crucial piece of Boston's rotation, Sam Hauser, limped off the court, leaving the Celtics bench in a state of alarm. The scoreboard was secondary for a moment. The concern in the air was palpable. For a team already navigating the challenges of key player absences, this incident felt almost ominous. Would this be the crack that threatens Boston's championship aspirations? A blow to the Celtics' arsenal. Hauser, who had been a steady contributor off the bench this season, exited with what the team later described as right adductor tightness. His stats may not scream star power, 8.9 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.1 assists per game, but his impact, especially from beyond the arc, had been critical. Shooting an impressive 37.4% from deep, Hauser was a reliable weapon in Boston's arsenal. In his 9 minutes on the court, Hauser was scoreless, missing both his three-point attempts. But his absence was felt almost immediately. The Celtics, struggling offensively, ended the half shooting a disappointing 20% from three-point range. Trailing 66-54 at halftime, the team's depth and resilience were being tested yet again. A familiar struggle with injuries. This isn't the first time the reigning champs have faced adversity this season. Kristaps Porzingis missed the first 18 games. Al Horford, crucial in high-stakes moments, hasn't been playing back-to-back games. Even Jason Tatum was sidelined earlier this week against Detroit. Yet, the Celtics managed to scrape through those challenges, emerging as a dominant force despite the hurdles. But losing Hauser, even temporarily, adds another layer of complexity. His ability to stretch the floor and provide a spark from the bench could be the difference in tight matchups, especially against dynamic teams like Memphis. Is this the breaking point? As the game pressed on, the Celtics' uphill battle became clear. Without Hauser, they not only had to chase down a surging Grizzly squad but also confront a deeper issue: their reliance on a top-heavy roster. Injuries had chipped away at their depth all season. Would this be the moment that finally exposed Boston's vulnerabilities? And here's the haunting question lingering over Celtics Nation. Can Boston withstand yet another blow? Or is this the start of a downward spiral that could derail their championship dreams? Celtics championship formula exposed by Grizzlies' risky gambit. The TD Garden had never felt so tense. What should have been another confident step forward in the Celtics' march toward dominance became an unsettling spectacle. From the very first whistle, the Memphis Grizzlies executed a daring, almost mocking strategy. One that seemed reckless but soon revealed its calculated precision. The target: Jrue Holiday. The plan was simple yet audacious. Leave Holiday wide open, forcing Boston to lean on him while neutralizing Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. For a brief moment, it seemed Memphis had overplayed its hand. Holiday, a seasoned veteran and deadly shooter, started strong with 11 points in the first quarter, silencing doubters and energizing the Celtics faithful. A plan that shattered Boston's rhythm. Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins bet on a high-stakes tactic: let Holiday shoot. And shoot he did, more than anyone else in a Celtics uniform that night. By the end of the game, Holiday had launched 26 field goal attempts, including 9 from beyond the arc. Yet, as the clock ticked down, his shots stopped falling. He made just 4 of his last 17 attempts, his shooting efficiency evaporating under the relentless pressure. The Celtics missed 9 crucial free throws and posted their worst charity stripe percentage of the season at 67.9%. Turnovers piled up, 14 in total, each one a crack in their once impenetrable armor. Even with Tatum and Brown on the court, the Celtics couldn't regain control, ultimately falling 127-121. A dangerous blueprint for future opponents. For the Grizzlies, the gamble paid off. For the Celtics, it raised alarming questions. Could this be the blueprint other teams used to dismantle Boston's carefully constructed game plan? Head coach Joe Mazzulla tried to downplay the defeat, framing it as a learning opportunity. It's a bold strategy, he admitted, acknowledging that Jenkins' approach could force Boston to rethink their tactics moving forward. Even Jrue Holiday, visibly frustrated yet resolute, brushed off the unusual focus on his performance. But as the players and coaches spoke with measured optimism, the cracks were undeniable. The reigning champs were outmaneuvered, and their flaws laid bare for all to see. Is this the weak link in Boston's armor? Boston prides itself on depth and adaptability, but this game revealed a vulnerability too glaring to ignore. If a single, high-risk strategy could cause this much disruption, what happens when other teams start to exploit the same weakness? A bitter return. Celtics suffer painful loss on an emotional night. The TD Garden was ablaze, not with the expected victory, but with the emotional return of Marcus Smart to the crowd that idolized him for 9 years. However, the narrative of that night was not one of glory or applause. Instead, it was marked by a frustrating twist and an unsettling outcome for the Celtics, who saw their 3-game winning streak snapped by the relentless Grizzlies. The atmosphere was electrifying, yet there was a palpable weight in the air. From the outset, Boston seemed trapped in quicksand, unable to match the hunger of the Grizzlies, who arrived determined not just to win, but to dominate. The Celtics' cold start allowed Memphis to control the first half, heading into halftime with a 12-point lead. The reason? A surgical precision in their long-range shots, while Boston struggled with erratic aim and questionable decisions. Memphis' strategy: a blow to the Celtics' morale. The Grizzlies were fired up, young, energetic, and with something to prove, not only because of Smart's presence but also due to the challenge of facing the reigning champions on their turf. Led by Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., Memphis not only maintained the lead but defied logic by letting Jrue Holiday take center stage in the Celtics' offense. While Marcus Smart's return should have been a moment of celebration, it was overshadowed by his lackluster performance and the roar of the Grizzlies. Smart, who had embodied the Celtics' defensive identity for nearly a decade, seemed out of place, contributing only 3 points in 19 minutes of play. When heart nearly defies logic. Despite all the adversity, Boston refused to back down. Fueled by an inspired performance from Peyton Pritchard, the Celtics reignited hope in the final quarter, briefly taking the lead. Pritchard shone with 22 points and 6 rebounds, attempting to compensate for below-average performances by Tatum and Brown. However, the relentless pressure of Morant, who ended the night with 32 points and an acrobatic highlight, proved simply insurmountable. But what truly sank Boston wasn't just Memphis' performance, it was their own errors. 14 turnovers, 9 missed free throws, and a dismal 30% efficiency from beyond the arc. These flaws laid bare vulnerabilities that future opponents could exploit. The question that echoes: what's truly missing? With the loss, The Celtics now face a rare period of rest after 5 games in 7 days. Will this be enough time to correct their mistakes? Or does this dark night reveal something deeper about the team's weaknesses? Hey Celtics fanatics! What do you think of this news? Leave your opinion in the comments, as it's highly valued.